So today, welcome everyone. We're going to talk to someone about PTSD. Now, a lot of people have been asking me about this and how it affects people long term. So we're very lucky today to have an expert. So welcome, Tracy, to our web.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, thanks for being here. Can you tell us what led you to learn more about PTSD?
Well, it was really when I finally came to grips with my own trauma. As I grew up, growing up, I was never really allowed to think that anything was wrong. I mean, everything was, you're fine, everything's fine. And so when all of these different traumas happened, I was kind of conditioned. Now that they were trying to help me think positive, they had the best of intentions, but it made me think, okay, no, that's not bad. This is normal. So I'm fine. I'm tough. I have strong shoulders, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't until I finally completely broke and I had to start from scratch and really come to grips with my own trauma. And in that healing process for me, I had some really good, awesome people on my team and my care team, and then I had some really not good, some really bad counselors. I had to kind of find the right fit for me. And it made me be like, you know what? There is an awareness needed here, because I focus mostly on non-military PTSD because that's what I know. Anyone can look at a book or look online and find all the stats. I'm more about the experience, how people feel, how it affects people, and really meeting them at their level, because we're all at different levels.
Absolutely, and that's really important, isn't it? Because I think nowadays people realize that soldiers going to war, being blown up, it's going to affect them long term.
Right, absolutely. And there's a lot of awareness.
But that took maybe 200 or 300 years, right?
Yeah, right.
Right?
Yeah,
so,
and there's a lot of great help for them.
Yeah.
And I feel like if it's not military related, it's kind of like brushed under. And like I was told in my experience, no, it's fine. It's not a big deal. I actually had a counselor tell me, I worked with prisoners of war, so there's nothing you can tell me that I haven't heard worse. Suck it up. I was like, I was not in a good place then.
So this is really important, Tracy, because you're saying it's not just the general public that need to be educated. It's actually the counsellors and some therapists who also need this education.
Yes, I actually have started putting together, I have some courses that I have, and I started putting one together for particularly medical personnel and mental health personnel, just so if they haven't experienced, maybe help them understand a little bit better where they might be coming from and how to better lead them and make them feel heard and validated. Because I think that's the first step, but then you need to move forward.
Yeah, that's really, really important. So if someone's listening and they're thinking, okay, well, I've had bad things happen to me, and how do I know whether I'm just upset and need to get through a grieving process, or whether I'm actually suffering post-traumatic stress?
That's a really great question. And I hate to say it, but I kind of feel like it's a gray area, because there are people who go through tough times, but there are those who are predisposed to family history or their own history of mental health or depression or whatever. They're kind of more susceptible. So maybe what would bother one person would mean nothing to another, and vice versa. But what I would say is, if you question it at all, there is no shame in going and talking to someone and seeing if the difference. What I have learned from me and my clients is, if it's long term, I mean, everyone has times of despair,
Yeah.
frustration. Everyone has those. And that's not necessarily PTSD, because a lot of times people use the term PTSD as like a catch-all, and they kind of like downplay it almost.
Right.
Like, oh, this is going to give me PTSD. Like,
yeah. And that's really awful, I think, isn't it? It's like, I've heard it on TV
really is.
I mean, in some ways, when you hear it on TV shows, you kind of think, well, okay, at least it's coming to the top of everyone's consciousness. You hear the words. Right. But if it's used wrongly, then that doesn't help anyone, does it?
No. In fact, it does more harm than good, I feel. So some of the signs that maybe it's more PTSD than anything, if it is prolonged, just you can't get out of bed, you don't want to do anything, your total life has just changed because you just feel this weight on your shoulders and you can't seem to get out of it. There are triggers that we don't even know. I still am like finding triggers. I'm like, whoa, I wasn't expecting that one. So you just have to kind of learn the triggers that might make it just literally just switches a switch. And you can feel instantly sad or instantly angry or instantly scared. And it doesn't mean you're actually in a dangerous situation. Our brain gets rewired.
I think that's the really important thing to emphasize, isn't it, Tracy? It's almost like you have to think about your brain as a computer, and one of the wires has been connected to the wrong circuit, or maybe 10 of those wires. And that is
absolutely.
That is going to take time to fix. It's not going to happen on its own. But usually I find that it's more obvious that somebody's suffering from PTSD if they have a reaction which is out of proportion. Would you say that's fair?
And it's hard if you're, absolutely. But I find if you're the person, you don't think you're reacting irrationally, because in your rewired brain, it seems pretty rational and it is very real. And you can start to sweat and you can have panic attacks where you feel like you're having a heart attack. Literally, it is one of the scariest things you can go through. You feel like you're dying. And that just makes it even worse. Then you really start to panic because now you think you're dying, and you have nightmares, and so many things can just go wrong, and you feel like it's completely legit because you're feeling it. And so talking to maybe loved ones who know you and who will be real with you and say, have you noticed anything out of the ordinary? Is this a normal reaction to this situation? I mean, finding someone that understands you and can maybe tell a difference, they can kind of guide you to, that was pretty irrational. Like, for instance, I had a friend who was shot, recovered, but to this day, he can't hear a gunshot, like in a movie or anywhere else. It sounds like a gunshot, even just like a big bang, like he will like hit the deck. And a lot of soldiers actually face the same thing. And it just triggers. And they know that they're at home, they're not getting shot, but it triggers. And so you have to rewire, like you said, you have to rewire your brain to condition it that you're not in danger, everything is fine. Because what PTSD does, our brain is a very awesome organ. What it's trying to do is protect you. It is always in protection mode. So after you've had some traumas, then your brain goes to, we have to protect you. So it just gets hypersensitive and will make a story up in your head that seems so real to protect you. And that is great. It was given to us because way back in the day, they were cavemen and we had to survive, and we had to be on guard with
big bears out there.
Exactly. There's bears, there's tigers, there's, danger everywhere. So it's a good thing to have, and intuition is a good thing to have. But when things are not wired right, it's a little misconception. So you have to kind of get it back in sync.
So Tracy, what kind of things can somebody do? You mentioned talking to someone who's like a friend or someone who knows you really well. What are the other kind of practical things people can do if they feel that they might be suffering from this?
Finding a good counselor. And I think most counselors have the best intention, but maybe their approach is different.
Right.
So I had a bad one. There's no way around it. That friend that I spoke of, bad, horrible.
Not
no
helpful.
one should go to someone like that. No. But there are others, I had others that it wasn't bad. They weren't bad, but we just weren't vibing. And so you have to kind of find the right one. And it can be a little frustrating, but you have to find one that you resonate with and can trust and can kind of read you a little bit. And if you can find someone that's been in a traumatic experience or experienced PTSD, or at least a loved one who's had it, it helps a ton.
Yeah, because as you said right at the beginning, not everyone is trained to deal with this particular form. And I have read that, I've been reading some great books. I have read there's been a lot of new developments like EMDR and even people advocating yoga apparently helps you rewire the brain. So there's quite a lot of work going on, but not everyone is going to be up to date, are they?
No. And I think it's sad, but a lot of times they just do what they're told. They do what they learn in the book because they haven't experienced it. And I don't feel like they dig in. And you're absolutely right. I am a huge advocate. If you need medication, sometimes you need medication to kind of get you over the hump, maybe forever. But I'm also an advocate. I see you're a huge advocate of alternative health and things like that. I am too, because yes, those other things were helpful, but yoga really helped pull me out of it. It helped my physical body, my mental, my emotional, my spiritual. It just all kind of helped balance that out. And it was a huge part of my recovery. I give a lot of credit to that. I did EMDR. I loved.
Not for the faint-hearted.
It was.
Is it?
No. No. It's you got to be kind of ready and prepared, and make sure you surround yourself with loved ones who will kind of take care of you after. I don't mean to scare anyone away from it. It was really good.
No, I mean, it's not electric shock therapy. It's not a load of chemical pills.
No,
it's just something that's quite emotional, isn't it, to go through?
Mm-hmm. It is. And sometimes you don't even know why you're emotional. It just brings all those emotions up. But the great part of it is that it helps you get it out and do that reconnect with something more logical and better for you.
Exactly.
And less on the protection mode. I use water therapy, hydrotherapy. I used, and this is kind of my own thing. I grew up in Michigan where I grew up on a lake, huge lake. I'm a water girl, but I've lived all over since then. And I live somewhere that there is not a lake. So I got, this is going to sound really silly, a little kiddie pool, but it was like an inflatable. So it's also like a raft to like float on water, but it was deep enough you could put water in, and I would literally put water in there and I would just sit in it, and it just mellowed me right out. Will it work for everyone? Probably not, but I think nature in and of itself
work for most of us, don't they? I think there's a reason.
Yes, exactly. I don't like hot baths. That's not my thing. I don't know why, but it's not my thing. But taking a walk in the grass barefoot, just being in nature for 5-10 minutes and just grounding yourself can be huge. Any kind of movement, exercise, until my physical health kind of went to pot. I was a huge runner. I'm going to get back to that soon, but right now I'm still in the yoga stage. I don't know if you've heard of it, cranial sacral therapy.
Yes, that's wonderful. Love it.
Yes.
Haven't had it for ages, actually. Not for a long time.
Yeah. And I've been lucky to find, wherever I've moved, an awesome therapist. I love my cranial sacral therapist now. She is awesome. And
I'm going to have to get on a plane to Michigan. What can I tell you? I've
Oh,
had
me too. I miss it so much.
I've had I had one when I lived in London, but I haven't had a good session for about 15 years now. And I suffered quite a lot of head injuries in the last 10 years. And my whole spine
Okay.
has suffered, which I'm trying to rebuild.
Right.
But the other day I was just thinking that maybe I can't fix this on my own. I might need a bit of help.
Right. And
But
that's
with
okay.
COVID,
That's okay.
COVID is just not helping, is it? It's not.
No, it's changed our life a little bit. We've had to kind of pivot and adjust things, right?
Just a little, yes. So I think
And speaking of COVID, sorry.
No, carry on.
I was just saying, speaking of COVID, I find a lot of people are triggered right now.
Yeah.
That, especially those that already have PTSD, they're struggling because they're now in their homes more. They're unable to do, they can't go to the doctor for their well checks and their mental appointments. A lot of those shut down. You're stuck in your houses. Things are changed. People are wearing masks all the time. And when you have different triggers, I know a lot of my warriors, I call them, really struggling right now with the changes and now going back to school. And everyone has a different way of how they're going back to school right now. I don't know how it is over there in England, but here it's just
chaos.
Yeah, a little bit. And with someone who already has some trauma experiences, it can really heighten it. But I've also noticed those who didn't realize or know they had PTSD, even they are almost triggered. They're more anxious than normal, and they're like, what is wrong with me? And I'm like, in a way, the whole planet is kind of going through a traumatic event.
It's true. I've heard that said. Yeah, because it's a really big change. It's something outside of our control, which makes us feel frightened.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And actually it's dangerous. It's fatal, isn't it, if you get it? So more or less.
Can be, yeah. And so for long, we didn't know much about it. There was just a lot of questions and, what's right about getting back to normal and what's not okay. I mean, there's just a lot of anxiety over the whole thing. And I found myself like, what's going on? And because everything else was switching, my routine switched, and I wasn't doing the things that I was doing for my mental health. Things just kind of got, my son was home all the time, and, that just changed everything. And then finally I was like, I got to practice what I'm preaching here, because I have got to get myself back on track.
That's right. It's like the healthy routines, the good routines have all been disturbed for everyone.
Yeah, unfortunately.
So we all know, generally speaking, what we need to do, just like we know what we need to eat if we want to stay well. We know we need to go for a walk now and again to stay well. But when everything's changed, then
what do? You have to find another way sometimes.
Exactly. And I think actually the children are quite lucky because they're seeing it as a bit of an adventure in some ways, aren't they?
I think some do, yeah. My son is kind of he can be kind of anxious anyway. So it's been a little hard on him. He loves school. So being out of school he missed half the last year. And, he missed his friends, and he missed socializing, and he missed having dates with, my friends and their kids. And now they're making him wear masks in school, and it kind of scares him.
Mm-hmm.
He's kind of, it's kind of scary. I mean, when everyone's got masks, you can't see anyone's face, you can't read expressions, and he reads your face. Like, he's very intuitive. He can really read you. And I think he feels like that's kind of been taken from him, and he doesn't like it so much.
Wow. I hadn't thought about that. So it's like we have to communicate with each other in a different way now as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
See, my bubble is that I work from home online, so I see everybody's face. That hasn't changed very much. But when I go outside, then I'm reminded, of course, when I go to the shops or what have you, that this is happening, and not everybody's dealing with it very well. Not everybody wants to wear a mask still.
Right. And everyone has their own opinion on the masks and health and activity, being outside, not being outside. I mean, everyone has different opinions. You can find pros and cons online on everything. People are always fighting back and forth. And with the work that I do, I'm asked a lot about, political questions and COVID questions. And although I have strong opinions on certain things, I feel like I need to be the neutral, safe place for anyone that's dealing with any kind of PTSD. I don't need to make a stand. I'm here to help both sides of the political field, whatever your PTSD is. I'm just here for everyone. So to speak out against anything else or any group of people, I'm just like, not going to do it. Not going to do it. That's not what I'm about.
It's not helpful, is it? It's not helpful. So
no.
So just to give people a bit of hope, can you think of a case study of someone you've worked with who perhaps was suffering quite intensely and then after a period of work was able to recover?
I love that you asked that. And I know that you kind of mentioned that in one of our correspondence. And like all of these things were going through my head and I'm like, what do I pick? Because you're right. We need that hope. We need that it can happen. And with PTSD, a lot of times you're going to hear from the mainstream medical field is you're going to have it forever. Deal with it the best you can and hope for the best. I don't believe that so much because of who I've worked with and my own work. I dealt with 30 plus years worth, and I don't think anyone is ever 100% in any way.
Right.
We're all trying. We all need to just, I like to say, we just need to level up wherever we're at. Just level up. Little steps, big steps, whatever you can do, but just focus on little level ups.
Yeah.
So I had a girl who is just a sweetheart, but she went through a lot of abuse, physical abuse from family members. I don't want to give too much, but physical abuse from family members. And what another area of PTSD a lot of people don't understand is complex PTSD. So it's not just the one-time trauma events, but it's the continual mental abuse or the continual abandonment or the continual repetitive belittling and, the narcissist and all of that. It's the continual, it's not once, but it's because it's just continually hitting you. And she had that. Lot of manipulation in her family, and I don't want to give too much. I know I got a bunch of people who are probably going to watch, but she went to the point of suicidal,
right,
and tried and ended up in the hospital. And through working with her, I'm so proud of her because she now is, it's really easy when it's our parents or when it's family or DNA to say, well, I can't throw them out of my life because they're my mom or my dad or whatever. I don't believe that. Toxic is toxic. I don't think DNA gives anyone the right to treat you poorly or to be a toxic influence in your life. I don't care who they are. And she was able to break that bond between her and a couple of her abusers, and now is taking a stand, even though it is so, so hard for her, because to break that bond is hard, especially when it's loved ones who you feel like should love you and take care of you. But now she's taking that stand for her. She's taking that stand for her kids and not letting them do the same things to her kids as they did to her. And she is thriving. She is thriving. Fantastic. She is a true warrior. I'm very proud of her. And
because that, what you mentioned, breaking the cycle is got to be the toughest thing, isn't it? They do say that not only do the abusers have a cycle, but the abused sometimes can have their own cycle where they will do to other people what was done to them and think of it as normal if they don't detach.
Right. Or what I found in my experience and a lot of my clients, those who suffer with PTSD, and it's because of abusive situations, the chronic abuse situations, they end up, if they don't break that cycle and they don't get that worked out, they're going to get another relationship, whether it be with a friend or a loved one, that's going to be the same toxicity. It's going to be the same because you get conditioned to think that that's normal or okay.
Exactly.
And I've had quite a string of similar abusive types in my life, and until I finally was like, wait, stop. This isn't okay. Like, that's what led me here. And who we surround ourselves with, you know, our parents told us when we were kids, and I hated it, but now I preach it too. You are a combination of the 5 people you're around the most. So to be who you want to be, you have to surround yourself with people that are the way you want to be, not who support your past, but help you to where you want to be in the future.
That's right. The best version of yourself rather than the worst version. Yes.
So if you're around people that make you feel bad about yourself, those are the people. And, you know, I say you can do 3 things with people in your life. You can keep them in your life as is, good or bad. That's a choice. You can completely dismiss them, you know, block them off social media, don't talk to them, have no contact. You can totally get rid of them. Or sometimes, which is good with family, loved ones, sometimes you need to give them the boot. Absolutely. But other times, maybe you just need to limit their access to you and your life.
That's what I do.
I mean, yeah.
That's what I do.
Yeah. And
you don't have to stop loving people. I think that's a big misconception. You don't have to hate anyone, but you can recognize that they are not a positive influence in your life. They make you feel bad for whatever. And you say, okay, so I'll see you once a month or once a year or once every 10 years, but not every day. Right?
Yeah. And you are the steward of your own health and well-being. So you have to have boundaries. And boundaries does not mean you hate someone on the other side of that boundary that you're going to be angry with them. That just means we have fences, and those are boundaries. And if you're invited in, we'll open the gate. You can come on in. It doesn't mean no one can come in. It just means you're going to be a little selective about who you want in and who you don't. That's how I see boundaries.
That's really lovely.
Because I love the people within.
And it's like saying to someone, if you had a dog or a cat, would you let every dog in the neighborhood come and see your pet? No, you wouldn't, would you?
No. Or your kids.
Why would you do that to yourself? Why wouldn't you keep out the people who make you feel bad in some way? Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So it comes down to self-care, doesn't it?
It does. It does. And for some of us, it took me a long time, and I still struggle with it a little bit, but it took me a long time to realize that self-care was not selfish.
That's right.
That was a hard one for me, because, you know, I always put other people first, and, you know, caring for others and put them first. And I realized when I broke, that's not working for me. So it's time to start taking care of myself to make sure I'm my best so I can help others, especially now that I'm working with a bunch of others. If I don't take care of me, I can't help a single person. I'm a single mom.
Exactly.
I can't afford to do that again. So it's really important. It's not selfish. It's actually so I can better help those around me.
That's really, really important. And I want to emphasize that is none of us can help other people unless we are first learning how to look after ourselves. So that's a wonderful place to end, although I feel like I could talk to you all day, Tracy.
Thank you so much. I love being here. You've been great.
So if people want to find out more about you and the work that you do you want to give us the name of your website?
Absolutely. It's www.multiform.com. And that's, instead of uniform, it's multiform, because PTSD has no uniform. Did you catch that word?
I love it.
Multiform.
I love that.
multiform. So multiform.com. And I'm on Facebook and Instagram with the same Multiform PTSD. It's multiformptsd.com. I'm not sure I said that right. Multiformptsd.com.
Fantastic.
And I'm on YouTube.
That in the links. Yeah. I'll put that in the link.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
And people can work with you if they want to, if they're in your time zone.
Yes, they can. It doesn't matter about time zone. I'm pretty flexible. Like, working with you, you just kind of work with what you got. And there's been times I worked with someone in Germany, and there was one time I had to wake up at like 3 a.m. to talk with her pretty early to catch her schedule, and you just make it work. I just make it work. I've got great support. My parents are close, so they help me with my son, and they appreciate what I do. So yes, I'm now opening up to doing virtual speaking engagements as well as face-to-face, if the face-to-face is allowed wherever they are. And I've got a few coaching sections. I got 3. Like I talked about, I have one for the health professionals, just to kind of help guide them. It's just like a crash course on maybe what to do's, what not to do's, how they're feeling, and how to best reach them. And then I've got the one for those who suffer with PTSD. That's pretty, or traumas of any kind, and they're just having a struggle with some things in their past. And I love. I have a new one. I call them my angels, because they are for the ones who love someone with PTSD. So if your significant other has it, or a child or a parent, and you want to help. I remember my poor family would be like, we don't know how to help you. And so, you know, they were doing a lot of things wrong at first. They meant well, but, you know, there were some things that wasn't so helpful, and they just didn't know. So I feel like to heal someone who has PTSD, a lot of times you kind of have to go with their inner circle and help them help your PTSD loved one, because once I'm done talking to you for the call or the email, they can still help keep you on track and know how to help you between calls with me. So that is kind of bringing it all together. So there's the person, the loved ones, their medical team. You get everyone on the same page, and healing is possible. I've seen it over and over, time and time again. You don't have to suffer forever.
Fantastic. So it's like a super boost, like a Super Bowl, but different.
Yes. Only everyone wins, in my opinion. There's not a loser.
Oh, I like the sound of that. Well, you must keep me informed of when all these things happen, and I'll put links on my website as well.
Thank you.
Can find
awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tracy. I'm sure we'll talk again soon, but
I hope so.
Time for today. Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tracy. Okay, so I'll cut it there, Tracy, but you were fantastic.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. I'm just passionate about it. And like I said, I'm an open book. I'll
Have you
talk
read
about
this
just about
book?
anything.